Good evening. I'm Armando Cuellar Jr., President of the Weslaco ISD Board of Trustees. This board workshop is being conducted pursuant to Governor Greg Abbott's suspension of certain open meeting law requirements to the extent necessary to allow for telephonic and video conference meetings in response to COVID-19. Notice of this meeting has been posted online for at least 72 hours. The board is meeting by the use of Google Meets and telephone transmission, which allows two-way communication for members of the public during public comments. A recording of this meeting is being made and will be available to the public at a later date. The time now is 5:20, and I call this meeting to order. I'll now begin the roll call, and I'll call board members' names and signify your presence by saying here or present. Mrs. Jackie Susaita? Mr. Andrew Gonzalez? Dr. Jaime Rodriguez?
Present.
Coach Jesse Trevino? Mr. Isidoro Nieto?
Present.
And Mr. Mark de los Santos.
Present.
Okay, let the record reflect that we have here, but although being at a workshop, we don't need a quorum present. Item 2, public comments. Do we have any?
There are none.
We have none. Go to item 3. Discussion on high school master schedules. Dr. Canales.
Board of Trustees, good evening. A couple of years ago, we had Mrs. Peterson share some changes to the master schedules at the high schools as we try to create a win-win situation for all children, giving all children, all high school students access to the classes that they need and they want to take according to their endorsements and graduation plans. So the team started earlier this year working with Mrs. Peterson, with Mrs. Brewer, and with Mrs. Peña on coming up with a master schedule that created that win-win that we've been looking for. This master schedule that we're going to present has the support of our fine arts directors and our athletic coordinators and teams. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this off to either Dr. Gamboa and Mrs. Morales. And before that, thank you, ladies, and thank you to Ms. Krink and Ms. King for your work in this process as well.
Thank you, Dr. Nales. Good evening, Dr. Nales, Coach Cuellar, and members of the board. So can you guys see the, oh, there it is. So a couple of years ago, several years ago, both Weslaco High School and Weslaco East have been exploring a schedule that would meet the needs of all the students that we currently have at both campuses, because we want to make sure that as a campus or as a district, we pretty much adhere to the UAL requirements as far as athletics is concerned and as far as fine arts or band is concerned. And we want to make sure that we adhere to the minutes that are required for CATE. So we want to make sure that those students that are participating in those classes also have the opportunity to take advantage of all the educational classes that we have and have an educational experience that focuses on all classes offered at Weslaco East High School or at Weslaco High School. And that way we can go ahead and at the same time have equity among all the teachers that are currently employed at both Weslaco East and Weslaco High. So like I was saying, several years ago, we did start looking at different schedules that would kind of meet the needs of our students. And like I was saying on the timeline, okay, there we go. Like I was showing on the timeline that is being displayed on the monitor, we did start those conversations back in the 2019 and 2020 to try to kind of come up with a schedule that would kind of focus on those goals that we had set out for ourselves, which is both athletics, academics, and fine arts, so that we can make sure that we can provide students the opportunity for them to take advantage of the educational courses that we currently have. And we can make sure that all students have access to all the classes that are available at both campuses. So we did, back in 2019, 2020, we did make a presentation to like Dr. Canales was saying, to Mrs. Peterson, Mr. Aguilar, and Dr. Canales and Ms. Peña, so as to what we thought would kind of meet the needs that we were currently experiencing. So then because of the coronavirus, we were planning on implementing the schedule during the 2020, this particular year, the 2020-2021 school year. But because of the coronavirus, everything was placed on hold. So we kind of had to modify the schedule to kind of feed the needs that we were experiencing at the time. So as we are moving forward and we're kind of planning for the 21-22 school year, and we are making plans to kind of ensure that we have a 100% face-to-face instruction. As we are moving forward, we want to make sure that the students that we're currently working with, have the opportunity to take advantage of the core curriculum, the entire core area classes that are currently in place. And I'll go ahead and let Ms. Crink kind of talk a little bit about the bell schedule and what are the positives.
Thanks, buddy. Well, on our new proposed bell schedule, our teachers are going to continue to have 6 classes over the 2-day cycle. Nothing changes on that. What we are introducing is what we're calling a skinny period. And the skinny period, we have one at the beginning of the day and one at the end of the day. Those are the periods where students who are in athletics will have their athletic periods. For instance, football and band will be the skinny period at the beginning of the day. Baseball, softball, track will be the skinny period at the end of the day. Thing is that all students will have a skinny period at the beginning of the day. But with the new schedule, what we're doing is for the athletes and the band kids, they start about 10 or 15 minutes earlier. They get their 60 minutes of practice time in, and then there's a gap that allows them time to shower, dress, and get on into their second period class. So students who in the skinny period that are not in band athletics start the day about 10, 15 minutes later, have their full class time, and then everybody goes to the second block at the same time. Okay, so it's just a little creative manipulation on that. Same thing at the end of the day. When everybody finishes the 4th block, there's a gap that allows the students going to athletics time to change and get dressed out before their class officially starts. That way they get the full 60 minutes instruction. Students that are in athletics at the end of the day go a little bit longer. They finish about 10 or 15 minutes later than the rest of the school population to have allowed them that time in there. So really the only people that feel a change of a slightly longer day are the students in athletics and band, but they're allowed to have their full 60 minutes without utilizing a 0 period, which was really what we were trying to get away from people having to go in early. Doing it this way means that all the kids have access to class periods at the same time. When we did our split block schedule last year, the only students that had access to a certain group of elective were the kids in the athletic period, which meant that those kids didn't have access to the whole school range of electives in there. So this gives them that opportunity. It also still maintains it to where students in band and athletics still have 7 other periods to take all of their academic classes. They can take the advanced courses, the weighted courses, everything that they want. So we feel like it keeps them on a level playing field with that. Gives our band and coaches what they wanted, which was the opportunity to see the kids every day for that 60 minutes, so they utilize the full 300 minutes they're allowed in a week for instruction. Of course, if they choose to start earlier than that, then that time becomes practice time that comes out of their 8 hours practice time within it. So we felt like that this schedule gives us the win-win. We had to work a little bit to make sure that we could still fit our courses into the Kate Center and get the full time allotment to make sure that we didn't lose any funding there, but we've been able to figure that out so that we can keep that schedule intact. So I don't know.
Ending time is what, right? For this particular.
For the
schedule?
students in athletics, they'll start at 8.
Okay.
8 to 9 will be their first period. Students not in electives, not in athletics, they'll start 8:10.
Okay.
So it's 10-minute shift.
And they'll finish at what time?
At the end of the day, I think students not in an athletic period finish at 4:10, and the students in athletics finish at 4:25.
So it starts the day a little bit earlier for the morning sports and also for band, and it ends a little bit
But
later.
really, that time goes in there to give them time to change and dress out.
Correct.
And not
Correct.
have that count against their minutes.
Okay.
Okay, now, because of the number of participants, we used to schedule different programs at different times of the day before we went to the block schedule, so that you wouldn't have volleyball and basketball, having to fight for room to use gymnasium. In terms of field use, soccer and football, for example, would not be out there at the same time. Now, given that we've improved a lot of our facilities and we've done a lot to our locker room space and the shower availability and stuff, will this schedule work and have your coaches and all other sponsors of extracurricular activities been involved with this, and are they okay with it?
Yes, we went ahead and both Weslaco High and ourselves, we met with the band directors, we met with the fine art director, we met with head coaches,
Okay.
and we were able to discuss, and it seems to it pretty much meets their needs.
You know that the only real conflict we have is the fact that we have two gymnasiums, and then we have the basketball, a lot of basketball teams running in. So they always have to get a little creative that somebody's going to practice early or somebody's going to practice late. But all the other, facilities, especially with the new locker rooms and everything, they've got plenty of room to go in. But it doesn't make it any worse. It just probably doesn't make it better for the fact that we still have two gyms that they have to schedule around.
Yeah, well, we just got to get creative with schedules and by UIL guidelines. When you're in season, when you use your 8-hour rule is up to you, and you can work with other programs. But when you're in off season, you can't be doing anything before or after school.
Right.
It's got to be specific to that time that's allowed, which is the 60-minute time, which also includes dressing and changing. It's all in writing. So we just want to make sure that everyone is on board with this, because if for it to work, everybody's got to
Well, they have liked it
Play by the
because it
rules.
eliminates the zero period for them. That was the primary access, and the coaches have always been pretty good about working with each other. It's like, I'll take my group to the weight room the first part, and you take the gym, and then we'll trade up and do that kind of switching back and forth.
Yeah.
But
Where I see an advantage there, Mr. Crank, is that before we went to the block schedule, we were limited with time. We weren't getting but maybe 30 minutes of actual conditioning or whatever. When things changed, we had more time to prepare, and obviously, it changed the course of our success. And I think a big advantage to this is that we don't have to be there real early in the morning anymore like we did before, because that was an issue. The zero period was there, but we didn't have kids showing up because traffic and other things. So I see some very big advantages to this, and I really appreciate your time and effort into looking at this. And in fact, I was talking to Mr. Nieto, and he had mentioned that he had worked with this back when he was still a principal. So it's all good, and we want to do what's best for all our programs and not compromise the educational process. So we really appreciate your time and effort into this. Any other discussion?
Gonna have more time, and all teams have been successful, right? And athletics and band and so forth. That means
No excuses.
no excuse. Okay, good enough.
Everything, everywhere.
No, hey, great job, y'all. Thank you very much.
Thank you for working proactively. For it. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
Anything else?
I would like to add just something for people that are viewing this. The skinny periods, the reason they're called skinny is because they are 60 minutes long versus 100 minutes for those classes that are on the block. The skinny periods, the 1A, AB, and the 5AB meet every day. The longer periods in the middle of the day, or the ones that start at 9:20, those meet every other day, like
Block periods.
100.
for us, they're 100. Weslaco High, because they have a slightly longer passing period.
So it just varies by
They're
minutes.
close to, I think you guys are 97 usually, something like that.
And then the other option that we likely will change is that Friday. Do you want to explain that, Ms. Morales, the Fridays?
During the corona pandemic this past school year, we made every Monday and Wednesday A days throughout the whole school year, and Tuesdays and Thursdays, we made that B days. And throughout this year, we've been alternating A and B on Fridays. And that has worked out really, really well, where when it comes to testing, you're testing 600 students for our EOC exams, or we have a school-wide ACT administration that we have to implement. It makes it a whole lot easier when we know that every Monday and Wednesday is going to be A day, and we don't change that. Long gone are the days where you just go A, B, A, B, A. So then next week is a B week. And we want to continue that also this upcoming school year.
How does it affect the conference periods for teachers?
So that's one of the advantages we have right now with algebra. Our students are double blocked and they get to see their teacher every day. And the teachers appreciate that, and we see consistency. So one of the things, as a matter of fact, today that we discussed, and I'm sure Weslaco ISD is working on it, to strategically not schedule the areas that we know our students need the most help with. And right now we're looking at English 1, English 2. So we said purposefully, we're gonna not have our English teachers on conference first period. That way they get to see their kids every day, just the way the algebra teachers do also.
They will all still continue to get either a full block every day, but some teachers may have the configuration where they get both of the skinny periods off.
Okay.
So they'll all get, the full, we give more time than we have to, but it's appreciated.
Does it impact K classes at all?
No, we were able to get it to where we met our minutes
Correct.
to get full CAPE funding for everybody.
And we won't need additional teachers?
Everything pretty much stays the same. The only thing that's going to change is what Alice was saying, the Friday, that is going to be alternating. However, that also kind of helps us out for our dual classes because it kind of mirrors the SEC schedule as well. So
That's a good
it'll
point.
reduce the number of sections that are needed.
Good point. That's
Good, okay.
And it worked out perfect, I mean, because you get your 60 minutes a day or 300 minutes a week, so it's right on target, so it looks good. Yeah.
Well, if there's nothing else, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's take item 4 now. Discussion on the district's insurance coverage, Dr. Canales.
Okay, thank you again. We do have Mr. De La Rosa and our consultant. I believe they're coming in. Yes, so let me get them situated. So, gentlemen.
So, computer on, computer on, speaker on, mic on. How about camera? Camera should be on.
Oh, my camera's on.
Yeah. It's Okay.
Mr. De La Rosa will be presenting on the next topic. It's just a discussion on the district's insurance coverage. So this is a who, what, when, where, maybe some why. So, Mr. De La Rosa.
Okay. Good afternoon, Dr. Canales, Coach Cuellar. Thank you for having us. Basically, we'll be holding a workshop over our current insurance benefits options. There was questions that came in as far as the topics for this workshop, and I've listed them here very briefly. So we cover Weslaco ISD in-force insurance and administrative agreements, breaking that down by property and casualty insurance, employee benefits. One of the other questions also was, our procurement procedures, renewal options. So again, we'll go over those for the property and casualty employee benefits. There was also a question on selection of agents. So I'll go ahead and get started. I do have a few slides just to go over these, and I won't promise it won't be death by PowerPoint, but just go over this briefly and then give the board an opportunity to ask any questions that they may have. With me today is Mr. Roger Garza. He is our employee benefits consultant. And just for the board's reference, that everything you're seeing on the PowerPoint, you do have on this cheat sheet here, which is what we use in our office. And then if you have any specific questions later on about if you want to get into the weeds of the current benefits, they are in this booklet. So I'll go ahead and start off with our current WISD employee benefits. I'm going to break this down by employer paid benefits. So these benefits, the majority of the contributions are done by the district. They are voted on, of course, and budgeted on by the administration and approved by the board. So the first one is, which is the major one, I want to go ahead and talk about the group health benefit plan. And if you notice when I refer to the employee benefit plan during regular board meetings, I never refer to it as health insurance. This is not health insurance. Health insurance would be a transfer of risk. The employees, when they use their benefits, they consider it insurance, of course, but from a financial or a risk management standpoint, there's no transfer of risk. So we go ahead and call them benefits. And right now, our current employee and benefit plan is administered by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Texas. Blue Cross, even though Blue Cross is an insurance company, they act in our capacity as a third-party administrator. So what does that mean? We pay Blue Cross and Blue Shield to administer claims, to pay claims, process benefits, report to the stop-loss carrier, provide customer service, and of course facilitate all the pre-authorization needs for surgery, etc. There's also a pharmacy benefit manager. Again, the pharmacy benefit manager is a third-party administrator that adjudicates claims based on prescription drugs. Okay, so the district is responsible for the cost of the prescription drug medication and also the cost of any medical benefits paid by Blue Cross and Blue Shield. The only insurance aspect, the third part of our employer benefits plan, is of course the stop-loss insurance. So currently that's also being provided by Blue Cross and Blue Shield. The stop-loss insurance, the district assumes liability for each and every employee and their dependent up to $125,000. So after that $125,000, the stop-loss insurance kicks in, and that helps us, that is a transfer of some risk, but overall we are a self-funded employee benefit plan. The next benefit that we provide to our employees is the group dental insurance. Right now, that is being provided by Emeritus. It was awarded last year, and the district contribution is $10.50 per employee. And the other benefit that we provide to our employees is group life and accidental death and dismemberment insurance. That is through Dearborn National, and that is done through an employer benefits co-op or educational benefits co-op, similar to, say, TASB that people are familiar with. So what this co-op does is they have school districts across the state of Texas, and they pool all those lives to be able to allow us, the district, to provide a base benefit of $25,000 life insurance for all employees at no cost to them. The cost of the district is $1.20 per employee per month. So for $25,000, that's very, very competitive. Employees also do have the option to buy up if they're so inclined, and also buy coverage for the dependents. So when I'm going to go back to the previous slide, and under the group health, the first one, it says $582 per employee. That is how much the district funds for our employee benefit plan. So if you look at this spreadsheet here, district contributions, we do fund $582 per employee per month. That comes out to approximately $16.3 million. Okay. The employee contribution, depending on what plan you're on, base, high, or state plan, what dependents you have on, an employee's contribution is $28.76 employee only on the base plan. So if you have your dependents on the plan, on the base plan, you notice the corresponding contribution is there. So employee contributions roughly come up to a little over $4 million a year. So that gives us that $20,363,083 that's funded for the entire year. Now, this number is going to fluctuate, of course, depending on enrollment. So if we have people leave, if we have people come on, those numbers will fluctuate. But roughly, we pretty much stay consistent throughout the year. We don't have a very high turnover rate, and employees that do leave are replaced fairly quickly. So again, that's a pretty accurate target at $20.4 million. So why do we fund that, and what does that mean? If you go back and look throughout the last 6 years of what we spent total for the employee benefit plan, this is, of course, all medical claims, pharmacy claims, administrative costs. Go back to 2015, we spent approximately $14.5 million. And as you can see, at the end of the 2015-2016 year, it went up a little over $1 million at $15.8 million. Then you go to the end of the 16-17 plan year, and we took a significant increase in claims, just a little over $18.7 million approximately. So that was a very, very high year for us. 2017, 2018, they did go down. We went to $14.6 million, 14.7 if you want to approximate. And then going back to 2019, they shot up to almost $20 million. So another significant increase there. That led to the contributions that you see here. We were severely underfunded. We weren't prepared for that high number of claims. Based on the actual numbers that we received from Blue Cross, again, the 2018, they're at 14.6, shot up to almost $20 million for the following year. So that is what triggered the increase in not only the district contribution to our health benefits, but also employee contributions. Before, the majority of the employees, if you can see here, there's just over 1,500 employees, employee only on the base plan. That premium or that contribution used to be $9 a month. We had to adjust that to $28.76 a month. So to get to that anticipating funding of, a little over $20 million. So as you can see, the 2020 plan year, we did go back down. We're at 16.5 million. But as you can see, in the monthly board presentations, we're slowly itching back up for the 2020-2021 plan to look like we're going to hit the 18, 19, $20 million mark. I'll stop there if anybody has any questions or if you just want me to carry on.
And the breakdown, when you say like 2019, that it went up to 19.9 million, that breakdown, do you have it separated like in a graph? Okay, certain percentage was admin fees, so many was claims.
I don't have it on this presentation, but I can certainly get that to you.
Okay.
In the update, we can put that data together fairly quickly. But the majority of it is going to be your medical claims.
Just a little, Rosa, will you go back to slide 1? So I'm assuming
This one?
the first one.
Oh.
So it's 582 per employee, right?
That's the district's contribution. Yes,
Is
sir.
that what we expect for this coming year, or is it going to increase a little bit?
We're still chewing on that a little bit.
Okay.
We're watching it. I believe that we have enough in reserves to cover. However, you always want to contribute a little more every year, so you don't find yourself in a deficit and then have to go into general fund to cover the difference, like we had to do back a few years ago.
Okay. And the group dental, that's how much we pay per employee, correct?
That
$10.50?
is a district contribution, yes.
That's the basic coverage,
Basic
correct?
plan, yes, sir.
Okay.
So anything, if the employee wanted to buy up or add their dependents, that would be at their cost.
With the group health group, on the $582 contribution per employee, I don't know if we're going to talk about that later in the presentation, but is there any other options? I mean, I know we've been doing the self-insured, but is there any other options? There's no other, like I said, have you all done that before, gone out for bids and seen what would it cost to have actual coverage? Like where somebody takes the liability, so you're more at a fixed cost per year, rather than kind of rolling the dice and trying to see, okay, how many claims, what are admin fees, et cetera?
For a fully insured, it's highly unlikely. We did go out to bid at the end of the 2016, I'm sorry, yeah, the end of the 2016, 2017 plan year, we did go out to bid, and we requested a fully insured plan as well as an administrative services only, and we got 0 respondents. And the reason being is that if we better manage the costs, Mr. De Los Santos, of being self-funded, because you have to remember that insurance companies are going to charge you a premium,
Right.
and their profit is going to be factored into that premium. So whether they, have a good year or bad year, that plan is always going to, that profit, if you will, is always negotiated into their premium. So sometimes they have a good year where they make a lot of money. Sometimes they take a loss. So we're actually getting this directly net of any profit margins or any commissions. So when we do go out to bid, or if we do go out to bid again, we can certainly request a fully insured option to see what's out there and present that as well. But I can guarantee you that it's going to be significantly higher than anything that you see here. And then not only that, but as a self-funded group, we have the board and let me see if I have that here. I don't have it on this presentation, but we basically design our benefits. So we design the co-pays, the co-insurance rates, the maximum out-of-pocket rates. We have a very, very rich plan. Our health plan for the base plan, is a $3,500 out-of-pocket maximum. So if an employee does have to have surgery, as long as they stay in network, they're responsible for their deductible and their co-insurance. But that co-insurance, that 30% that they pay, will never be higher than $3,500. So,
And that was going to lead to my next question. The network, is that network? Because I know that depending on the plans that you have that you get, I mean, some are beneficial where they have certain doctors but like, I guess what I'm trying to say is the size of that network. What are we looking at? Like, what are we offering our employees? We're self-funding, and I see maybe it's profitable in a way as far as costs on our behalf, being self-insured. But how big is that network? Like, does that?
We rent the Blue Cross and Blue Shield network. Of course, they're our administrator, so we have access to their network. Now, Blue Cross has different network levels. You've probably heard of PPO networks, HMO networks. So right now we have what we rent from Blue Cross is we have a PPO option, which is basically the widest anybody who is in the Blue Cross and Blue Shield network, our employees can utilize. They don't have to name a primary care physician. They don't have to get referrals to see specialists. So indeed, we have a network through Blue Cross's network. But again, there's other networks out there. Definitely, we had prior arrangements with prior third-party administrators in the past where we've actually gone out and set direct contracts with certain vendors. For example, the 3 local hospitals, we had a direct contract with them. And that, of course, turned into lower deductibles for employees should they utilize those specific contracted vendors. So that is certainly something that also we can look at depending on who the third-party administrator is.
Mr. La Rosa, in terms of network, if we have an employee that for some reason goes to somebody who is not in that network, how much more expensive does that become for that employee?
It's going to be significantly more expensive because what happens is that the out-of-network benefit, it's going to be a higher deductible and it's going to be a lower coinsurance. So if you go to an out-of-network provider, your deductible will be higher. So you're going to pay more out of pocket. And then your coinsurance, normally if the provider's in network, it's a 70-30 split where the district pays 70%, the employee pays 30%. If you go to out-of-network provider, Blue Cross will pay a 50% benefit. So the problem happens is that Blue Cross will process the claim and they'll pay the provider the amount that they think that they should be paid based on what Blue Cross thinks they should be paid, but they're out of network. So what happens in these cases is that the employee 9 times out of 10 gets balance billed for the difference. So you can see some pretty significant medical costs by going out of network for the employee.
And every year that we get whomever, every employee is made aware of where to go and so forth. But my question is, we do have a lot of people that travel out of the valley, and if there's an accident or something happens, an appendicitis, something, and they go to somebody that's out of network, You know, because they have no way of knowing. There's an urgency for
Sure.
medical attention, so we're in trouble there, aren't we?
Well, it depends. In an emergency situation, I get calls all the time. Hey, I need to go to the emergency room. You know, is this provider network? And I'll tell them, well, yes, it is. However, but 9 times out of 10 in emergency situations, emergency room physicians are normally not in anybody's network. And the reason being is because they don't have to be. You know, they charge what they charge. And, you know, as cold as it may sound, you know, there's no other place to go. You know, especially in an emergency life or death situation, you know, you're going to get stuck with more than likely with a high medical bill. Unfortunately, that's just the way the system is set up.
This may be out of order, you know, but a lot of times if somebody needs an MRI, somebody told me that you can't go to NAP and get an MRI here with the insurance we have because they send them to McAllen. Is that true?
Not that I'm aware of, sir. Knapp Medical Center is a network provider. So if you do need an MRI, you can certainly utilize their facilities.
We haven't had issues with that.
I haven't heard issues.
I think, Coach Cuellar, I think originally when we first began with this insurance, there was a problem because NAP wasn't part of the network, and then it became part of the network, if I remember correctly.
There were some issues
At the beginning.
with Blue Cross, but I believe they.
That's been remedied.
Because I haven't heard anything
Right.
as far as that happening.
Dr. Canales, staff members, how do they feel with this insurance plan that they've had?
Yeah,
And recently, in the last couple of years, I haven't received any major complaints, you know, compared to before. So how do the staff members feel with this type of health insurance?
well, with staff members, I guess it's a coverage. We, in terms of this year and during the COVID-19, I guess we would measure that by the amount of concerns and complaints that Mr. De La Rosa and his team have fielded, you know, with staff members. I don't think there have been many I don't know of any that have come to my level
Okay.
with concerns about
Mr.
what
De La
our
Rosa,
district offers.
how about yourself? Any major complaints from staff members? You know, because of course, we want to provide the best insurance that we can for all the staff members. Any major, you know, complaints
Nothing.
or concerns?
As far as employees go, nothing that can't be taken care of out of my office, whether it's a pharmacy benefit management issue or claim issues. 9 times out of 10 is just a matter of getting the right person on the phone to solve the
Yeah.
problem.
And I think a lot of times it's important, you know, this information, it's very important. And I think if staff members understand ahead of time where they can go out of network, so that if they understand what they need to do to save money, then they'll follow that. And then, you know, in the long run, everybody benefits from that.
And we don't get a lot of out-of-network claims.
What's the level of participation, the staff? Do you all survey them? Is there committees to kind of ask questions and review and get their input so they can kind of rate?
We have an employee benefit committee,
You do?
Mr. De Los Santos. So what happens is when these products go out to bid, they're evaluated by Mr. Garza, Valley Risk Consulting, and then they're presented to the committee. And the committee really is the driving factor in making recommendations. Because at the end of the day,
And you said who? I'm sorry, who did, or they were, you said Mr. Garza, who's that?
Mr. Roger Garza,
Oh, okay.
with Valley Risk Consulting, I'm sorry.
Okay.
And I think every school provides a couple of members, correct?
Each campus provides a member and a backup.
The one that I used to provide was my nurse, because the nurse understands insurance or understands, you know, guidelines. So that's who I would normally have on that committee.
Yeah, and it's the committee's been, the members have been very consistent for many years. So.
Right.
And your other question, Mr. De Los Santos, as far as level of participation, you're talking about?
I meant that like a committee.
Oh,
Do you have-
sure,
Do you have staff that comes in and participates in rating or approvals or
Yes.
looking at the
Yes.
specifications
Yes,
and what's
we do.
offered?
Absolutely. Yes,
And
sir.
do we survey them? Like you asked a good question right now. You know, what do they feel about this insurance policy? So
I think at the end of the day, what I've seen, you know, throughout the years is that as long as an employee can go to the doctor and get service with their card, whatever name is on the front of that card, whether it's Blue Cross Blue Shield or Aetna, United, Humana, I mean, as long as they're able to get get seen and get treatment and get what they need. 90% of the employees, that is really all they care about. It's just the people, like me who are in an administrative role who see the numbers and see, who have a little, more concerns. And you do have a few other employees that will say, well, I used to like when we used to go to this MRI place and get it for $50, so it's a balancing act, if you will, but we try our best.
So if the board were to decide to go out for bids, realistically, all we're doing is using the infrastructure of Blue Cross Blue Shield. We're using whatever, they're not taking any liability because we're self-funding,
That's correct.
but we're just tapping into their infrastructure and paying them an admin fee for that.
Correct. That is correct, sir.
So realistically, it could be Blue Cross Blue Shield, like you said, any of those companies. So they would be bidding. And if we were to go out for bid, what we would be looking, I just want to know this, right? Because I want to know what comes across our desk. We would just be looking at what they're charging to use their infrastructure. We're going to fit the bill as far as covering costs of actual.
That is correct,
claims
sir.
and
We design
costs.
the district designs benefits. So anytime there's a benefit change that needs to be made, it goes to the committee and it comes to the board for approval. Luckily, we haven't had to amend benefits in some time. The copays have been pretty consistent for the past several years. We haven't had to make any changes to the coinsurance levels in the past several years. So, but if we had to make adjustments to costs, we certainly could do that. We also would provide benefit or options to the committee. For example, and let me see if I have this slide here. I don't have it, but we have 3 plans for our health insurance. We have a base plan, we have a high plan, we have a state plan.
Right.
Well, the state plan is utilized by your high utilizers, okay? And it's paid by all the people on the base plan. So that used to be a requirement by the state to offer that state plan. That is no longer a requirement under TRS guidelines. So we could take a look at potential, and I'm just, just for discussion, I'm not saying we're going to do it, but we could potentially, take out that state plan and, have 2 plans, but that is of course our option we can do.
The basic plan is still 80-20?
The base plan is 70-30.
Oh,
The high plan is an
70-30.
80-20, and the state plan that I referred to is a 90-10. It's a very, it's a costly plan, and it's one that we're not required to offer anymore, but it's still been there.
So the deductibles that staff pay, the district is in control as far as the amount or the levels. We just take guidance from the consultants or from Blue Cross Blue Shield as to what we set them at, or how does that get identified, or who makes that decision?
Well, we'll look at, like I said, we haven't adjusted deductibles in a while. What we have adjusted in the past few years is copays for prescription drugs. So as the cost of prescription drugs go up, we've got to find some way to offset that cost. So we raise the copay on a generic drug at least to be $5. I believe now it's 10 or 15. Specialty drugs and non-specialty drugs, and then you have your formulary, non-formulary. You look at different models. So we try to get employees to use a formulary drug versus a non-formulary. And what I mean by formulary is that this would be like a well-accepted, well-known brand name drug that's very common in the market. A non-formulary would be more of like your brand new drugs that come on the market. And those are the ones that you always see commercials for on TV because they're very, very, very expensive. But yes, we do look at those from an actuarial standpoint and see what can we do? How do we balance this out so it's fair for everybody?
One question, Mr. La Rosa. Of our staff members, what % would you say opt for the high plan?
Well, if you go back, Coach, I'm gonna go back up to that funding slide.
Okay,
So as you see, the majority of the employees are on the base plan.
correct.
So if you look on the high plan,
Oh, I see it.
there's approximately 181 employees on the high plan.
Okay,
And you have 6 with employing 1 child, 22 employing children, 26 employing spouse, and then 4 employing family.
I
And then
see
you
that.
go to the state plan, which is the 90-10. The 90-10 with a very, very low deductible.
Mhm.
You have 103 employees that, employee only on that plan. Very, very low numbers because it is very expensive.
Right, right.
5 employing 1 child, 3, 2, and then we have 1 employee and family.
okay.
It's on the high plan. I mean, the state plan, excuse me.
Okay.
So those are the employer paid plans. And then you have your voluntary insurance products. And these are paid 100% by the employees. I have a list of them there. Accident, cancer, disability, critical illness, hospital indemnity, term life. This is life insurance that you can buy above and beyond, which is the free plan that we have. Vision insurance, and then this year, a new product was added, group whole life insurance. These insurance products run calendar years, so they're January 1 effective date versus through December 31st. And then, of course, the current agents for those products are listed below. And those agents are also on the dental insurance, and then they were appointed to the Blue Cross and Blue Shield self-funded plan as well. So I'm going to go into, I'm sorry, did anybody have any questions on that?
The group whole life is the one that we discussed, I guess, the beginning of this year.
Yes, that's new. It was
Is that right?
brought last year. It's brand new. We hadn't had that before. And so it was effective January 1, 2021 for the people that enrolled in it. I don't have enrollment numbers for these, so I don't know how many people signed up for it
Okay.
here. So I'm going to go also, these are now WISD actual insurance policies. So I have your insurance policies and TPA, which is third party administrator, and ASA, administrative service agreement. So most of these are true insurance products that cover the district. The first one is a student athletic insurance. And that of course covers students if they get hurt in any UIL activities, band, cheerleading, football, etc. If a student has insurance and their insurance is primary, and then this would be secondary, and if a student does not have insurance, then this would serve as a primary insurance. And that will be brought to the board probably sometime next month in June, depending on what renewal we get. The student voluntary is part of the first one through Student Assurance Services. This is the insurance, that accident insurance that parents can buy for their student, for their children if they're so inclined. We don't have a very high participation rate. The next one is the errors and omissions, otherwise known as professional liability insurance. That's currently through AIG, Shepherd, Walton and King. And then of course the corresponding premium is listed there as well. Then of course you have your fleet insurance, which consists of your general liability, your crime policy, and then we do have the fleet cargo insurance, which is the liability only. That is currently provided by Travelers Public Entity Group through Shepherd, Walton and King, and then those are the corresponding premiums that we paid here. These again will probably be brought to you all for renewal, depending on the renewal numbers that we get. Physical damage is separated from Travelers. It used to be a part of Travelers. It was all one package. However, the flood of June of 18, where we lost pretty much all of our fleet, Travelers had to settle the claim for almost $5 million. So needless to say, the renew that we got the following year was significantly higher than we had in the past. So we had to go out to a separate company for the physical damage aspect of our fleet insurance, and that's the premium that we paid last year. Unfortunately, these are only 10-month policies. We're not able to get a 12-month policy on the physical damage. So with the change to the new fiscal year next year, we're going to try and see if we can bundle these up again for the following year into a full 12-month policy period. Of course, the property and contents, which is your property insurance, that was just awarded in March. So that's the effective date of April 1st through March 31st. And I'm sorry, that should be 2021 through 2022. Then we have our excess workers' compensation policy, and that's through Safety National, through Shepherd, Walton and King as well. And what the excess workers' compensation policy is very similar to our stop loss insurance for our self-funded medical plan. So workers' compensation, once a claim is filed, we own it for life. So we have a self-retention amount of $450,000. So I know it sounds like a lot, but if there's ever an unfortunate accident, say if an employee has an accident and is paralyzed or severely brain trauma, we can reach that threshold fairly quickly. So we do have self-insure, we do have excess workers' compensation insurance. And of course, finally, a workers' compensation, the last one, that's with TriStar. TriStar is a third-party administrator. We hire them to manage our workers' compensation claims. So again, we just pay them to process our claims, file a report with the state of Texas, and keep track of our employees and their workers' compensation claims. The next one are several other fee insurance policies that we have. Again, they're TPA or third-party administrative services only. These are not subject to board action, so you don't see these come across your desk or come to the board, and that is because of the cost. Our unemployment compensation program, that is administered by TASB. So TASB administers it similar to TriStar and Blue Cross. They administer our unemployment compensation insurance. They manage claims, and at the end of the quarter, they deduct our account and send the money to the state for unemployment compensation. We do have a cafeteria plan Section 125 administrator that also handles the medical indemnity or flex spending card or child care reimbursement cards. So any employee that signs up for a flex account that puts in, say, $25, $50 a month for medical expenses, the company charges a $1.25 per employee per month for that card. So that's a benefit that we provide for our employees as well. 403B administrator. So any employee that wants to buy a 403B, so whatever company they buy from, they can buy from anybody, any insurance company. But the 403 administrator, which is TSA Consulting Group, they make sure that we're in compliance with federal law and make sure nobody's over contributing or under contributing. Cyber liability, that's been very, that's been of note recently. So again, we do have current cyber liability insurance that expires at the end of the month, expires at the end of May. Our current carrier, which is the one you see now, send us a cancellation notice. So we are currently looking for quotes for next year for 21-22. And then of course we have various standalone insurance policies for different campuses. I have here Ibarra Transportation, the Maintenance Department, Warehouse, Roosevelt. These are campuses or buildings that are in a designated flood zone. So as you know, with our property and casualty insurance, our flood insurance has a $100,000 deductible. The chances of these facilities flooding is very, very great. So we have standalone flood insurance policies for those campuses, and that's through the National Flood Insurance Program. And we currently obtain those through Montalvo Insurance. So whether we use Montalvo or anybody else, it's the same premium because it's all regulated by the federal government. So again, as far as the how these products are procured, so anything over $25,000 are competitively procured through an RFP process. Our consultant, Mr. Garza, Valley Risk Consultant, evaluates proposals and makes recommendations to my department and to the Employee Benefits Committee. The committee recommendations are submitted as approval to the board for approval. And we do award proposals with the option to renew for 2 additional 1-year terms. That's standard language that we include in our proposals to be approved annually, of course, by the Board of Trustees. So we'll bring everything back to you on a yearly basis with a recommendation to either renew or solicit for proposals. So these products that you see will be coming up in May. It would be the ASO. Again, with the ASO, the Pharmacy Benefit Manager, and Stop Loss Insurance with Blue Cross and Blue Shield will be brought to the board to either renew or go out for bids, the group dental insurance, and then that one physical damage part of our fleet insurance will also be brought to the board to renew or to solicit proposals. And the various other products that we went through will be brought to you all in June and August, depending on when we receive renewals and depending on the availability of boards, say to, for example, conduct a special meeting. Voluntary products, we usually bring those to the board to renew or go out to bid, usually in August. We do that because if the board is inclined to solicit proposals, that gives us enough time to conduct the RFP, solicit the proposals, evaluate, the committee meets, you make a recommendation, then finally you have open enrollment through the month of November and December, and then it'll be live effective January 1st of the previous year. And these of course, these products are brought, for example, we're bringing this to y'all in May. So if the board is inclined to solicit proposals, we have enough time to conduct the RFP, evaluate the proposals, bring the committee in, let the board, approve the recommendation or not approve it. But whoever's selected, we do need time. If it's a change of companies, we need time to install the product, to make sure everything's loaded correctly, to get census files transferred over. So it's a long process. And then, of course, there's meetings with the employees to let them go through open enrollment, let them make changes. And then, of course, will be effective September 1st. We're ready to go. And as far as agent selection, I know that was another bullet that was on the request to discuss. So for employee benefits, the Board of Trustees selects the servicing agents. You'll get proposals from several different companies, and they'll attach 2 or 3 names. For example, I'll just throw out, Acme Insurance, submitted this quote for disability, and agent A, B, and C we were submitting this proposal on behalf of agent A, B, and C. So as far as Mr. Garza, myself, superintendent, we don't make recommendations as far as agents. We leave that to the Board of Trustees. As far as property and casualty, so employee benefits or ancillary companies, like I like to refer to them, they really don't care, who is selected as long as they're licensed and they'll appoint them with the company. I mean, these companies are not going to, not select a product or not, take a product or take the business based on who the agents are. Property and casualty companies are a little different. They're very, very selective on who they work with. So, for example, fleet insurance, general liability, especially any property insurance, they're very, very selective on who they work with. So if, for example, company that we awarded for the property and casualty insurance, it was AM Winds through Montalvo Insurance. The board could, of course, say, no, we don't want Montalvo Insurance. We want, so-and-so insurance. More than likely, the carrier is going to say, no, Mr. Montalvo is our man. And, if this is going to be a deal breaker, then they'll pull their offer.
They already have a relationship.
They're very selective on who they work with. They have a long history of, long-standing appointments with them. So they're not inclined to have somebody else come in. So when we bring property and casualty products to the board, specifically it would say, for example, AM Winds through Montalvo Insurance. So they're a little bit different. They're very, very selective on who they work with. So they're not inclined to deal with an outside agent.
Okay.
And that's pretty much all I had. I hope I covered everything that was expected, and I'll open it up to questions or discussion.
Property. So they're selected for property, but you said that the board selects the actual agents for the health.
Well,
Correct.
Yes.
I remember you in the fall in a workshop, you had briefly touched on that, and you said that the board selected agents to represent our health coverage.
As I mentioned before, our health insurance or
the
employee
previous
benefits products, they're always solicited. It's not insurance, it's administrative services. Like you mentioned,
Right.
we pay Blue Cross to administer our plan. Those RFPs have always gone out net of any agent service fees, any commissions, anything like that. Quite frankly, it's not insurance. It's not a true transfer of risk.
Right.
So in 17, 18, we went out to bid. Again, net of any service fees, commissions. At the 9th hour, the carrier that want, or the company that wanted and disclosed that we did include a $5 per employee per month fee for agent X. So that was brought to the attention of the board, and the board went ahead and accepted the proposal with that. They waived that technicality as they do have that right, which is listed in the RFP. So that's how those agents were selected for the health. Rewind to last year, again, we went out for proposals. Standard language that we include is net of any fees, commission, service fees. However, they did disclose a $5 per employee per month fee for what they called enrollment services. So again, that was brought to the board, and it was accepted. And then there was another item that split up the 3 agents that I listed, that indicated there. They were awarded, pretty much the entire line of business.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see how all these different people are connected into our policy. But so we pay Blue Cross Blue Shield to borrow their infrastructure and to manage the actual policy, but we're taking on all that liability and the funding. And then we have Mr. Garza, who's with Valley Risk Consultants. So how does that work? Like, what do they do and who pays them?
We pay Mr. Garza. He's
Okay.
he's an independent consultant. He's not tied to any insurance companies, insurance carriers. And you want to touch on that?
Sure. You know, the statute, the state statute signifies, pardon me for the record, sir. I apologize. President, I'm Roger Garza. There's a separation of duties between what we do and what agents do. Is clearly defined by the Attorney General and by the Texas Department of Insurance. So what we do is we analyze all the proposals, the benefits, the services that are being provided by the carriers. So we try to put those benefit packages together to in the best interest of the employees. Then they price it out. So once it's priced out, we make a recommendation strictly on the benefits rather than the companies or the carriers themselves. So when we select the TPA, the third-party administrators, basically based on the services and the benefits that we package together. And that's how they compile your administrative charges. So when we're running a network, as Mr. Coed signified earlier, it has to be a broad network. So we make certain demands, if you will, of how we want our network put together. And we have to, as a consultant, we have to evaluate and make sure that the employees, when they do travel, we need to find out how many students or how many dependents are attending North Texas College or Baylor or University of Texas. And we need to make sure that they have access to quality care in the event of an emergency or traveling, for example. But once we do that, we bring this package to the administration, and then we evaluate it with the top 3 ranked firms that will be able to provide those services to Weslaco ISD. And then from that point, the board will hear the presentations from those 3 firms. And because we get a lot of, and I hate to say this, but we get a lot of interest from foreign countries like India. They want to be a third-party administrator, give us a chance, but we can't do business with foreign companies. So we don't know what exactly they're transpiring. So we try to stay with the name brand recognition so that we'll be able to deliver quality product to you. Okay. And just briefly, I've been doing this for 43 years, so it's I can almost tell where like this pandemic that happened. Someone says, "Do you know how much it's going to cost?" This is the very beginning. I said, I really can't tell you, but it's going to be a lot. And it ended up being a lot. So,
Yep.
Yeah. So that's like you're our in-house expert in a way.
Yes.
We're evaluating in our benefit. Okay.
yes.
And normally you provide the workshop on those particular areas, correct?
Yes, sir.
Nice. Okay. So then we have the Blue Cross Blue Shield, we have the risk management, and then we have our agents, right? And then, so how does that work? So you said that the fee was requested by Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Yes.
Okay.
When they submitted their RFP last year, they disclosed a $5 per employee per month fee for enrollment services. That's what it was.
For someone to be here locally for them, like their representative in a way, kind of. That's what it kind of sounds like. Is that my ballpark or no?
That's kind of in the ballpark. They do send people to sit in the boardroom here for open enrollment for a few weeks in August. But on the self-funded side, aside from that, that is pretty much the extent of their responsibilities.
And so does our current structure, I'm asking both of you, because you're also our in-house expert. So our current structure right now with who we have representing us, or whatever the previous 7 decided on the number of agents, is that normal? Is that something that you see? Does that benefit us? I mean, because it's not coming to an additional cost, right? We're not paying an additional $5 per agent. We're just paying $5 flat.
Right.
Okay. So it's $5, and then we're paying $5 per employee per month. And if you have 10 agents or 12 or 13, it doesn't matter.
However, the company slices the pie,
Right.
measures those handles, that's quite frankly not our concern,
That's not our concern. Okay.
or my concern anyway.
Right. Yeah. And so how would the board then, I'm trying to think, so then how would that work then, as far as like when you said going out for bids for new agents and policies? Why does the board play a role in that? I'm just curious. Or is it just, yeah, like it, because, yeah, why does the board select the agent? We're just selecting our representative, an additional individual? Or how does that work?
Well, to be very, what's the word I'm looking for? To be very, I don't know if I want to be frank, is, as you know, that there's a lot of competition
Mhm.
among these individuals to obtain the business. It's a very, it can be a very lucrative account to have. So quite frankly, Roger and I, or Mr. Garza and I would quite frankly stay out of that fight.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's
If I can just add to it, if we live in,
and Dr. Canales as well.
oh, I'm sorry. We live in a small world
Right.
here. Region 1, it's a small world.
Mhm.
So a lot of these servicing agents are neighbors. I call them neighbors. Some of them are friends. Some of them, we've known them for years. It's a small community. We see them at grocery stores. We see them at Walmart. And I, as Mr. De La Rosa said, it's a very lucrative account. Your account is. So for me to make that decision, I could easily be classified as being biased.
Okay, yeah.
So I would prefer, and I'm sure, the administration would as well, that the board interview them and select the person that they feel best qualified, to service your account.
Okay.
I think that would be important, especially because the new board members. That way you get to know them and see what they're going to provide in the best interest of our staff.
And they'll be in charge of just answering phone calls, taking care of issues? Oh, no?
No,
Okay.
sir.
For the voluntary products, the ones that I
The list earlier that you had? Yes.
these right here.
The employee pay?
So these agents, they enroll the products. They go to the campuses and enroll all the employees. They provide us with a list. And so all the day-to-day calls for issues, those calls are referred to these agents.
Okay.
So cancer, they're not paying on claim, disability, what's going on, term life vision, all those day-to-day problems, since of course they're 100% employee paid, these agents, all those calls. So that customer service aspect of it, that's what they do for these
Okay.
products.
In this area?
Yeah, and the dental insurance too, because the dental insurance is a fully insured product. So any issues that they may have, if we can't help, we'll refer.
To them to take care of all these. I know employees purchase a lot of these policies
Oh, yes.
and then they use them.
Mhm.
So they work as a team, like in this category.
Correct.
I think that's everything. I mean, pretty much from, I asked for this workshop. I was one of the few that asked for this because I wanted to know exactly how it worked, because it's always been a confusing topic. There's a lot of different aspects to it. And so, thank you for putting this together. It's brought a lot of light to kind of what we have to look at and agree upon, whether we just renew or go out for bids, whatever the case may be.
And every single aspect of it, Mr. Los Santos, especially the employee benefit products. We could have a 2-hour workshop to get into the weeds, and it's
Yeah.
so.
And question, compared to other districts, our health insurance and of course, all the products, I know you talk to other agents or whatever. How do they compare Weslaco to the other districts?
We have a very rich plan. So, and even though our premiums or I don't want to call them premiums for the health benefit plan, because they're actually contributions. So even though our contributions went up significantly in 2019 at $28.76, our neighboring districts, it's similar, I'm going to say similar. Well, I'll just say it because it's public information. For example, McAllen ISD, their employee contribution for the base plan is what? No, what is the employee paying? Like $60, $70? $52. I know Edinburgh CISD, their employee only contribution is somewhere around $60.
Correct.
So we're competitive. We're very, very competitive. We're better than most. We're not the best. But again, other districts have more resources than we do. So
I think the only one that would be probably the best might be PI.
Yeah, one as well.
actually, no,
Nope.
it'd be PSJA.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
But
Oh.
again, everybody's put into, all the funds are put into an account or a kitty, if you will. So they have almost 3 times the number of employees that we do.
Yeah, the size.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot
Exactly.
more.
Because the number.
There's a lot more room to pass around the costs. So
Yeah,
they're able to
makes
keep
sense.
their contributions down. So, but on the other hand, they don't pay as much as we do. So
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
So Mr. Los Santos and Mr. De La Rosa and Mr. Garza have
Mhm.
periodically just did the comparison of the district contributions and the employee contributions and keep track of that. So that's something as we engage in the process of looking at this at the May 10th meeting and beyond through the summer that we can provide as well.
And then you said that you'll be bringing this to the board pretty soon in May?
Yes,
You said
sir.
May
this board-
10th.
this May
May
board?
10th. Mhm.
the next regular meeting, yes, sir.
And for most of them, it's the option to renew or go out for bid.
Okay. And then, and the only thing I would just say, like, I would like to have input from the staff to see how they, I don't see how it would hurt to survey them or ask them how do you feel, scale 1 to 5? Do you like your, the only one thing I think, is the President Quinn touched on was I heard from some staff was just being out of town and having to utilize medical services and out-of-pocket costs and things like that. But then you explained that already.
Right.
It made sense. You're in San Antonio, you're in Dallas, you have an emergency, especially in the emergency room. Those costs are going to be high no matter where you go. So,
If you're sick with strep throat, you can find a doctor, because it was me
or one within the
visiting
network,
family.
yeah, when you're out of town.
It is a challenge to
Continue network.
provide, these level of benefits and also be in a financially stable position.
Mhm.
Because certainly, we could have carte blanche, but you're just going to take money out of education funding and put it in fund your employee benefit program. So, it's a compromise, if you will. I'm sure employees love to have more, but I can't afford to give more.
Right.
But we do the best we can, sir.
Right.
But, by and large, where we're at, we've been well serviced and, but we really haven't had too many issues, have we?
Not as far as employee benefit, people
Mhm.
getting issues. We have had other issues with them. Get into that at the meeting. That's more of an administrative level.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mike, quick question. In regards to pharmacy, I know that's another area where costs seem to be going up quite a bit there. You had previously discussed, looking at some other options, with the pharmacy. I know one time we looked into, I don't know, those international options, and is that something that's still on the table? I mean, are you still looking at that?
Absolutely. McAllen ISD and Sherilyn ISD, and Mr. Garza serves as their consultant as well. They just implemented an overseas pharmacy benefit program. You want to touch on that, Roger?
Yes, sir. And just to brief you a little bit on it, every school district, and I service approximately 18 school districts, have the same problem. They have rising pharmaceutical costs, and a lot is attributed to the specialty pharmacies or the specialty drug costs that start to impact the plan. If I can say it this way, 20% of the cost of each specialty is impacting 80% of your plan. So what they did was we looked into another resource, which was actually approved by the Trump administration, that allows us as a public to access drugs from not third world countries, but tier 1 countries, meaning Great Britain, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia. So we actually found a vendor that does that for us, puts together the program, and we've been able to trim significant amount of money in terms of costs. We've had one entity that's already reduced its cost by almost 37%. So that's significant because it's not impacting the plan like it used to be. So the other district, it just started the program, is already projected to save approximately $700,000. So it's actually gaining a lot of steam. And it doesn't impact but just a handful of drugs, actually. If I can say, it's just like 12 drugs that are commonly prescribed that employees are taking that's costing the district, over $1 million or $2 million a year.
So we certainly, certain PBMs would work with that. You know, others won't. But we certainly will put that in our specs when we go out to bid. Because most of the drugs are made overseas anyway. Very few are made in the United States.
Just for clarification, Board of Trustees, you mentioned surveying staff to see what they think about the current plan prior to, are we talking prior to we bring it in May 10th? Or are we talking about if we go out to bid?
Well, I was just thinking, right, I mean, if we were to change anything, I don't know what the administration feels they're gonna propose in the upcoming board meeting. I don't know if you propose to just renew what we currently have or go out for bid or what the case may be, but should we, I mean, I would like to know, what does the staff feel? Are they satisfied with the services they're receiving? I mean, what are they rated at? Because this is for them overall. And I think for just one or two people to be making the decision or coming up with a consensus of, yes, everyone's happy with it, but maybe they're not. I mean, it's just something, I think it's information I'd like to know. I think, well, where are they at? What do they feel like? You know, I'm content. I think that would make the decision even easier.
Right.
Because if we say, well, let's just renew and keep everything in the status quo the way it is and whatnot, but yet we don't even know we're surfacing our staff, so we don't even know how they feel. And if they say, well, I don't really like this plan, or I've had issues, or maybe there's other issues that I've only heard about out of town issues, but maybe there's something else out there. You know, I think it'd make the decision easier and quicker if you had that data. I don't know. Has that ever been done, or that's not done?
No.
I know that I've been, like where I work at, they would survey us 1 to 5. What do you feel? We click it and it was through a survey monkey.
Unfortunately, and I'm not going to say unfortunately, but there are other factors in whether or not we, you know, the recommendation is to, you know, renew or go out to bid. There's other factors aside from, you know, staff input, because like I mentioned, as long as they can use their card and get services,
they're happy.
They're going to be happy. So, but again, there's stuff on the administrative ends that it may not necessarily be in the best. I'm not saying that this is the case now, but there have been issues in the past where there have been, you know, financial issues that were not in the best interest of the district. So even though the employees were great with it, you know, as far as from a legal standpoint or financial standpoint, it wasn't in our best interest. So I have to weigh those two.
Any more discussion? We okay? Well, thank you very much, Mike and Roger, for your
Thank you.
input. And
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir, for the presentation.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 5, adjournment. The time now is 6:37. We are adjourned.